Candace Glover, Magic in the Morning, 8:35 exactly, and it doesn't exactly look like spring out there. Mike Barrett in with us. We mentioned good policies with Barrett Insurance Agency. Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Lovely day.
Did you have snow coming up from Waterford?
Yeah, it's spitting snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to go away. We'll have some rain.
Yeah.
And then some sun.
Yeah.
And it'll be cold again.
Yeah.
Enough said. Good policies.
That's all I have to say about that.
Obviously, when we flip our calendars tomorrow, it's going to feel more like springtime.
Yeah, in our heads, maybe.
Yeah,
That's it.
Mine's been there since the beginning of April, but any
Yeah.
hoot.
Yeah.
Something we haven't talked about, at least yet this year. Spring. There's a lot of
There's been
things.
zero reason to talk about spring. That's why.
Well, there's a lot of things that people do in the springtime. Like
Yes, there
they'll
is.
go to their garage or their yard and they'll pull a tarp off their favorite vehicle, the one they don't drive in the winter, and they want to put it back on the roadways. Or they've got a camper. They want to take it off to the campsite. Or they've got a boat. I mean, all of these spring and summer things.
Seasonal vehicle season is upon us.
Yeah, so
well,
let's-
that's always upon us because the snowmobiles are not going anymore.
Nope.
So, and there are many people who, for costs reasons, take advantage of some savings opportunities, and they have maybe the Mustang or the Corvette or the Chevelle or what have you, and maybe they want to reduce coverage in the off season, save a little bit of money. Makes absolutely good sense. And a key thing I always tell people is that, you can park that vehicle on October 1st and call me October 2nd or later and say, hey, that vehicle was parked October 1st. Let's reduce coverage. And that's great. We can do that. Save you some money, depending on the policy. But here's the key thing. This is the time. This season is more important than ever to remember this. You can't call me May 2nd and say I took my vehicle out May 1st. We cannot retroactively reinstate coverage. Reason being, if you were in an accident, now we're reinstating coverage that the company was not going to be held liable for and going to put them in the position of being liable. So that's why that's it. So if you have a seasonal vehicle, recreational vehicle, fifth wheel, tow behind, motorhome, whatever the case may be, if you reduce coverage at all before that thing sees springtime roads, which will be someday, I guess, make sure you reinstate that coverage. And believe it or not, there are certain situations where it's not even worth reducing that coverage season.
I was going to say, I've had this discussion before with other agents because I was fortunate enough to fall into the sweetest deal in the world on a Porsche 928. And I so miss that car. I'm $1,000 away from owning it, and I had to sell it because I didn't have money for a car going into the winter. But what I did is I bought the car and I put insurance on it while it sat in my driveway. Okay?
Yep.
Then I parked my other car in the spring after I got full coverage insurance on the car.
Right.
And got it registered.
And
So
then started
it's got to be done in that order.
It does. And for vehicles that are considered classics, modifies, antiques, if it's over 25 years old, if it's over 30 years old, those types of things. Which, how crazy is this? And this kind of goes into the realm of if you're listening to a classic rock station and Guns N' Roses plays. It's
Right.
like, wait a minute, that's not classic rock. That's what oh, God, I'm old.
Yes, it is.
So to think about what a 30-year-old vehicle would be, could you believe that my 1986 Chevy Celebrity that I bought off my father would be a classic car at this point? I mean, not worth anything, but still, by definition, it's kind of scary to think that way. But if you have the cars I mentioned, there are companies out there like Haggerty Insurance, J.C. Taylor Insurance, and a few others as well. And even some of their regular carriers have a classic or antique rating that you can put on a vehicle. In those cases, that's rated so seasonally, saying that you're very rarely driving this vehicle, that those policies you wouldn't reduce coverage on.
No,
it's
you
not
wouldn't.
worth it
No.
because they're so inexpensive off the top. Same thing if you have a camper, motorhome, tow behind. If you have a separate policy for those units, you're not necessarily going to want to remove coverage. You might want to reduce it for a little bit of savings, but you're not going to want to remove coverage because those are specific policies geared towards those types of units. And one of the reasons we like people doing that, case in point, if you have a travel trailer, let's say you like to go to one of the local campgrounds or beyond, and you have it there for a few days or the season, do you know that you have no liability on that unit unless you specifically have the opportunity to extend liability from your homeowner to that unit being parked where it's at?
Okay.
Or if you have a specific policy, such as a Progressive travel trailer or motorhome policy or another like policy. If it's regular auto insurance that it's on, the liability is only on it when it's being towed behind a tow vehicle that has liability coverage on it.
Okay, so if somebody wants to, say, go up to Island Pond and park it for the month of June,
Yeah.
they have to notify the...
My recommendation is to get a separate policy specific to that unit with a Progressive or one of the light companies that offers a specific monoline, meaning this policy is only for a travel trailer. So they're going to give you the vacation liability and all those components. They're going to protect you while it's parked. So it's just nice to have. Interestingly enough, most times when I do a price comparison of having it on a regular auto policy with just comprehensive and collision coverage and literally nothing else, because, again, liability would come from the connection to the tow vehicle. And motorhomes, of course, would have liability, but that's another story. But when we do the comparison, it's sometimes equal price or less. So
Okay.
it's worth checking into.
So if I remember from last year in our chat, there is a liability with a camper because people can go in and out of it just like a house. You've
Exactly.
got steps, you've got awnings, you've got all kinds of things.
There are ways for people to injure themselves other than you. And that's, again, what liability and medical payments to others would be protecting on a homeowner, as well as in the case of your camper. You're really protecting just your liability. So it's not going to give you money if you yourself or one of your family members who's considered insured under the policy, which would be dependents and things like that. But other people who could sustain an injury, yeah, it would protect you from having to pay for their medical needs.
So Aunt Millie trips on the steel steps on your trailer
Yeah.
at
Face plants and now is being airlifted to Dartmouth.
Sugar Ridge.
Yeah.
And,
Can you imagine?
yeah.
It could happen. You know, we all go, it's not going to happen to me. It could happen. I never thought I'd have a finger that looked like this. You know, I have a finger that's, it's good at, it's literally a hook at this point from multiple surgeries after horribly breaking it, connecting a trailer to a truck. So never thought that would happen, but it happened. And look, people look at my finger and go, what's wrong with that dude? You know? So my wife has a line that I love, and I know it's not one that she coined, but she likes to use it. You know, if they were anything other than accidents, they'd be called on purposes. So kind of think of it that way.
I like that thinking.
Yeah.
So for everything then, for your spring and summer and any season, you need to keep up with it seasonally.
Yeah.
Do it in a timely manner. Also make sure you've got the right coverage. I mean, you talk about older vehicles. You're going to be able to get the money for it if it is a true valuable collectible, or is it
Think
going to
of it
go
this
by
way.
fair market value? I mean, these things.
If you have a Vanagon, or if you have...
Oh, my.
Remember those things? I love those.
Yes.
You have an old Volkswagen. You have a classic Chevelle. I mean, you know, from an auto insurance standpoint, they're going to pay actual cash value. Actual cash value is not the value you would think. They would say, well, that's a $1,500 vehicle at this point because it's old. So don't put those types of units on a regular auto policy. Make sure you're putting them on and getting the value. And if you're not having a value conversation with whom you're getting your insurance from, then that's a concern. So if you're going to say, look, this thing is probably a $25,000, $30,000 vehicle, we'll write it that way as a stated amount. It's an important thing to do, important step to have.
And the other important step is you have to be able to back it up. So,
Yeah,
as
that's
the
it.
owner of the vehicle,
Absolutely.
have the
Absolutely.
conversation. That's what you need to do.
Yes.
Tell them how to do it with you.
Sure. Give us a call, 748-5224. Visit our website. We are thebarrettagency.com. We're also physically located on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. Google, Facebook, and YouTube, all Barrett Insurance Agency. And I don't want to wrap up today without wishing a happy birthday to my father, Richard Barrett, who was our predecessor at the office. He's celebrating his birthday today, which I will not say the age.
That's a smart man right there. We
Very
should have called us
smart
during
man.
celebrity birthdays, but you knew you were going to get on the air.
I knew I
anyways.
had my own moment.
All right, good
Happy
policies.
birthday, Dad.
Magic in the morning. Happy birthday, Dad, and music for you from the